It's a story about growing up by refusing to. This is Peter Pan. I'm Matt Hasquin. I'm a high school history teacher, and I'm taking you lyric by lyric, line by line through Billy Joel's We Didn't Start the Fire. We started this line with Davy Crockett, and now we're to Peter Pan. And so let's go ahead and take you through why he included Peter Pan in the song. When Billy Joel sings Peter Pan, he's tapping into a mid-1950s pop culture moment where this classic story collides with, the new media of television. The tale began with J.M. Barrie's 1904 play and then 1911 novelization of Peter and Wendy. You have The Boy Who Couldn't Grow Up, The Darling Children, Neverland, The Pirates, Fairies, and just this bittersweet cost of what happens when you refuse time. Well, if you fast forward from Barrie's novel and his play, you get to the 1950s, and you have two versions that define what Peter Pan was. You have Disney's 1953 animated film, that put a lot of highlight, a spotlight onto Tinkerbell's sparkle, and in this gave millions of post-war kids kind of like a shared visual imagination. And then secondly, we have the 1954 Broadway musical that starred Mary Martin, and it exploded on the stage in America, and then it leapt into living rooms with live television broadcasts. Most famously the live broadcasts in 1955 and 56, and then 1960 there was a taped broadcast that re-aired year after year for a while. You had harnesses and wires and all this, stagecraft that let a nation watch a character, literally take flight on TV. And suddenly, Never Grow Up wasn't just a line in the book. It was a Saturday night spectacle that, families watched together. So why did it land so hard? What was so hard hitting about it? Well, because it met the baby boom childhood at exactly the right time. Suburbs were expanding, televisions were multiplying, and parents were eager for family programming. Peter Pan offered adventure without gore, songs you could hum. And it was a fantasy that spoke to kids who had their own bedrooms and backyards and brand new television sets. It also cemented a theatrical tradition. The title role played by a woman, with Martin's performance setting the template of energy and mischief and just like this steeliness. But the same productions also carried the blind spots of their era. The portrayal of Native Americans in both the stage and screen versions relied on stereotypes, the songs and costumes that once passed as, storybook. When we look at them today, they're more disrespectful. Modern revivals and school productions often revise or replace those elements, which is, it's a reminder that nostalgia should be paired with, critique. And by the time Billy Joel wrote his song, Peter Pan had become a shorthand for a televised childhood, a mashup of Barrie's whimsy and Disney's animation, Broadway prestige, and, the brand new power of live TV to make a whole country feel like one audience. When we tie it back to the song, well, the lyric, Peter Pan in the lineup captures the 1950s moment when television standardized childhood myths. It turned, like nursery magic into a national event that you could watch in your pajamas. Why does it matter? Why is it important? Well, the Peter Pan reference explains how media shapes memory. A play and a book became an animated film, a Broadway hit, a TV ritual. And it was proof that technology doesn't just deliver stories, it decides which stories become common culture. It also shows why revisiting classics with fresh eyes matters. The myths we keep should be the ones we're willing to improve. So I hope you enjoyed this explanation of Peter Pan in regards to the song. Next up, after Peter Pan, we'll be talking about Elvis Presley. So please give me a like, a follow. You can go to my profile to see each and every one of the lyrics we've done so far. And I appreciate you watching. Thanks.